Open up the door. It's Dave.
Who?
Dave. D-A-V-E.
Dave?
Right, man. Dave.
Dave's not here.
For my whole life, I've had trouble gardening. It's almost like I have two black thumbs instead of two green thumbs. I just can't get anything going in the garden. No matter what I do, it doesn't work out for me.
Harry the platypus! What? Oh, yes, the green. I can explain. It started 2 days ago when I was watering my plant. I noticed a beautiful garden on my neighbor's balcony. Oh, I got so jealous. So the guy at the store told me, among other things, that my plants wouldn't grow because I didn't have a green thumb. And that I should stop bothering with all these plant questions, and that my mere presence in the store was destroying his plants. So I got a big bucket of green paint, and I poured it on myself. Then I was green everywhere, except strangely my thumbs. I think it was the way I was holding the bucket. Anyhow, I came up with another great idea. I created the Moisture Suckinator! See? I don't know why I built it here when I was going to use it on the balcony. That wasn't... Anywho, this device will suck all the moisture out of my neighbor's plants, which will turn them brown, making my plants look greener by comparison. And I will finally have a green thumb! You know, not actually, metaphorically. I'll have a green... Oh, it's a metaphor! And I wasted all that money on green paint.
On my last video, I talked about setting up this rig to do hydroponic growth of different plants. And now I'm going to actually start adding nutrients and start playing around with it and actually get something going to see how it goes. Later, I'm going to add in some other plants and some different things and maybe actually start growing from seeds. But for now, all I want to do is just see how it goes, actually growing something in here, kind of doing a little test case to see how it all comes together. So let's go through that and see how it works out. If you've ever been into living with the land at Epcot, you know that in the greenhouse area, there's a section where they talk about hydroponics, and they have some plants that are going through some nutrient-rich solution, and they use no soil, and they talk about it, and they give you some context on how it works. I've always been inspired by that, ever since Epcot first opened, but I've never actually executed on it, and now I'm going to let that inspiration come to fruition. So this 3-part kit came recommended as something you'd use for hydroponics. It's the nitrogen, the phosphate, and then the potash. And those 3 things should help you to grow better with the ability to provide nutrient to the plants. So what you're going to do is you're going to actually add this one first, this flora micro, and it's actually going to dissolve into the water. And you're going to let that sit for a few minutes. And then you'll add the other ones, one at a time. Again, letting them sit and dissolve in the water, so that way the nutrient is all mixed in there and you don't have any chemical reactions between them. That's why they're separate from each other. So you have to actually add them a little bit at a time. Add this one, let it sit, add this one, let it sit, and then add this one, let it sit. And the idea is then you have a good nutrient-rich solution that you can play with. So I'm going to go ahead and start adding those to my nutrient base, to my water, to see how it goes. So as you may notice, one of the things I did here is I added some holes in the top of my lid so that I could actually make the water flow easier. So this is my drain and this is my inlet to go up to the actual tank that I'm using to have my plants. I also put a hole over here where I have my bubbler that goes in, and I pull out my electrical for the pump that's inside. So I did the holes like that. And then the other hole is just to make it easier to add nutrient, to continue to adjust anything I want, to check the water level along the way, so I don't have to take the lid off. And I can take the lid off, but as you can see, this thing is pretty full at this point. So taking the lid off is really not the best idea. So I'm going to go ahead and get this started with my first nutrient. Now, how much nutrient goes in? That's a good question, and I can't really answer that question because it says that it's 1/4 teaspoon per gallon. And I'm going to just take an eyeball guess. This is about an 18-gallon container. And so I've got some amount in there. I've probably got 15 gallons in it. It's my first time doing it. I don't want to, put too much, put too little. So I'm going to put some. I'm probably going to put about a capful. I think that's probably about good like that, and then just let it sit in there like that. All right, I'm going to have to do a little cleaning up, I think. But thankfully, I have my hose right here to make that easier. There. Go. Now, just to make sure that this actually does distribute evenly through here, I'm going to go ahead and turn this on for a minute. Oops. A little bit of my fingers there. That was messy. So I'll go ahead and turn this on for a minute. Let it actually start running some of the nutrient through. Just give it a minute or two. All right, I let that run for about 5 minutes. Now I'm going to put in the next nutrient. Now it does say to shake it before you put it in, so let's give it a shake. Minutes here. Let it circulate the solution through. All right, we ran it for a couple of minutes again, and now we're going to add the last one to this. Same thing, we'll add about a capful. Look, I'm new to this. I don't know how much I'm putting in. I don't know what I should be using, how much I should be using, but I'm going to start here because I think it's a reasonable place to start. So we get a little water coming through like that with the nutrient in this. That should mix the nutrient up very well in here. So the reality of all of this is it's sort of a trial and error thing. I'm going to learn a lot from it. I'm going to figure it out as I go. I don't know the answers. I don't know what it's going to do, but I'm going to play with it for a little bit and see how it goes and see how it works out. My first pass at this, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take some basil that's growing and some parsley that's kind of growing. It seems to be doing okay, and I'm going to take both of those. I'm going to take the soil away from it, use what's left of the roots, put them in the same pots, add some of this product. It's called perlite. And perlite should allow me to get some nutrient to them, so the nutrient can be in there, and then I'll put those into the container there, and we'll see how it goes. So let's start with kind of carefully, if I can, better. See, I'm kind of getting to the root structure. I want to take all the soil away that I can, because I want to keep the roots nice. Okay, so here we go. Let's see how this works. I don't know. Hey, this is all theory to me at this point, but I understand the concept, so we'll see. Here's, I've taken most of the soil off, so now we have just the root structure down here. So I'm going to put the root structure in here, moisture and, oops, a little messier than I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. Not the end of the world or anything. We'll see how this goes. I don't know that this is going to work, but I'm going to try it because I'm willing to try something. All right, now we're going to try the basil, same thing, because I wanted to try 2 plants just to make sure I kind of give myself a little advantage should there be any issues here. I have my roots here like that, so I'm going to go ahead and again put them in here like this. Add some perlite to it. Let's see what's happening there. It's all kind of falling through. I get it. But I'll have this ability to work with this stuff. Okay, now this one, because it's bigger, I'm probably going to have to tie it up. I should be able to use the nutrient-rich solution. Bind onto it in some way. Right, like that, maybe? Like that? No. It's floating in there. Guess that's good. A little taller. It's got some other issues here, potentially. So its height, I'm going to actually wind up using what I built here. Whoopsie. Not quick enough on that. And that one fell over too. Darn it. Nope. That doesn't work either. Okay, this is not doing what I thought it was going to do. Hold on. Hold the phone. After a couple of stops and starts and trying to figure this out, I wound up cutting some more notches in the tube that went in because what was happening was too much water was filling into here and it became a problem. So by cutting the more notches in it, I actually reduced the amount of water that's coming in here, and that should work fine. So now I've got both of my plants set up this way, and they're sitting in the water only a little bit, and the water fills up part of the way, and they can actually get some of the water. Sorry about the sound there. There's still some of this rock substance here, the substrate, making its way into the drain and making a little noise. And I've also tied this guy up here because he's tall. I want to make sure that he's not falling over into the water. So I tied him up a little bit. So that should be good. Should work out okay, I think, I hope. We'll see. So it occurs to me that all this perlite material that's stuck in there in the drain, I'm going to have to remove that at some point. So in a couple of weeks' time, I'm supposed to replace all the water anyway. At that point, I think I'll take the whole assembly apart, rinse it all out, and make sure everything's clean and there's none of it left in there. But for the short term, I think this will be fine. It'll work out okay, even if it's got a little quirkiness with the way the stones are falling in there. They're very small. They make their way through everything. So we'll see how it works out, but I think so far things are looking pretty good. So this is what we look like at about 10 days of growing the basil. It looks really good. It's actually doing very well. You can see it's very green. It's even got a little bit of new growth up here at the top. So really pretty exciting right up there. There's some new growth. So pretty exciting that the basil is doing that well. I'm very happy with it. I think it's done well. So this kit is working. I'm very happy with the way the whole setup is working. You can hear the motor running probably. That's the one that runs the bubbler. So it's keeping the water aerated in there. You can actually see that it's moving. You can probably see it through my little peak hole here. See the water is moving because the aeration is actually keeping the water moving. That keeps it from getting stale and growing mold, which is one of those important things that you want to have. So I'm very excited that this is working right. I'm going to open it a little bit here. You can see the bubbler is actually functioning, doing what it's supposed to do. Now on the other hand, my poor little parsley plant here. I did everything I could do. I replanted it, I moved it, I put it back in the water a little differently in the pellicle. But unfortunately, it looks like it's not going to make it. So this is kind of a test case, right? How does this work? What was different between the two? What did I do differently? Well, I assume that for one thing, I didn't plant that deep enough. So it really wasn't touching where the water was. And on the other hand, look at the size of the roots on this. It has some nice thick roots. So the root structure itself was very hardy. Here, these are all very small. You can see how small these are. So it would have been a problem that it didn't necessarily get enough nutrient coming up through it. So I think that's the difference. And I'm going to learn something from this, so the next time I can do even better when I put the next plant in here. But I'm very excited that this is working and functioning the way I want it to. You may notice that there's a little bit of growth around the roots. There's a little epiphyte that's in there. There's nothing wrong with that. That's expected. If I actually covered it with some material so that no light got into it, I could get rid of that. And the other thing is I just wanted to point out how good the root structure is. It's kind of grown through the pot a little bit and is now hanging out into the nutrient solution, which is really exciting. We're about 2 weeks in now, and everything is going really well. I think it's actually working better than I expected, in spite of the parsley dying. I think it's actually working really well. So I think at this point I'm ready to stop the experiment phase of it and start adding more components into it. Start adding some more vegetables and herbs and do some different things and get it growing. So on a future video, I'm going to talk about how that all comes together and how that works. I think we're in good shape, and I think I'm ready to go to actually start growing things. I'm very excited about this. It seems to be working for me.
What's your point, David?